In 1971, the company we now know as Nike was weeks away from collapsing. No swoosh, no just do it, no billion-dollar athlete deals. Just one man, drowning in debt, selling shoes out of the trunk of his car, and a bank account that was about to hit zero. This is the story of how Nike almost died before it ever really began. In 1962, a Stanford graduate named Phil Knight traveled to Japan with one simple idea. He toured a factory owned by Onitsuka, the company that made Tiger running shoes, and was impressed by how fast and cheaply they could produce quality sneakers. He believed he could import them to the US and undercut the German giants who controlled the market, Adidas and Puma. Knight partnered with his old college track coach, Bill Bowerman, and together they founded Blue Ribbon Sports in 1964. Knight borrowed $50 from his own father just to get started. There was no office, no warehouse. Knight sold the shoes directly out of the back of his car at local track meets, while still working full-time as an accountant. It sounds humble. It was actually terrifying. Here's what most people don't realize about Blue Ribbon Sports. Growth was the thing that almost killed it. In their first year, they sold $8,000 worth of shoes. The next year, it doubled. Then, it kept doubling. Sales were great, but there was a problem. In the shoe business, you have to pay your factory months before you ever see a cent from your customers. Sales doubled year after year, but cash was always tight. Banks called about loans, suppliers pushed back. Every time the company grew, it needed more cash up front, and the banks were getting nervous about how much debt this small Oregon company was carrying. By the early 1970s, Knight was staring down a near bankruptcy that was only avoided by securing $250,000 in loans at a brutal 18% interest rate. That's not a typo. 18%. The kind of rate that buries most businesses before they ever get off the ground. Then came the moment that should have ended everything. As Nike's debt load grew, the American banks got squeamish, and it was actually a Japanese trading company that stepped in to provide the capital Blue Ribbon Sports needed to survive. But the real gut punch came from Knight's own supplier. In 1972, his relationship with Onitsuka, the company whose shoes built his entire business, collapsed into lawsuits and supply disruptions. Knight had built his company on someone else's product, and now that product was being ripped away from him. He had two choices: shut it down or build something entirely his own, with no time, no safety net, and a company that was already drowning in debt. He chose to build. When his Japanese partner threatened to cut him off completely, Knight made a bold move. He created his own brand from scratch. The name came to him almost by accident. Jeff Johnson, Blue Ribbon's first full-time employee, says it appeared to him in a dream. Johnson's logic was simple. A good brand name should be short, with a hard sound in it, something like a K or an X. He called it Nike. For the logo, Knight paid a design student just $35 to draw what would become the swoosh. Today, that symbol is one of the most recognized on Earth. Back then, it was a Hail Mary from a company that was still, by every financial measure, on the verge of collapse. Here's the part that surprises people most. Nike's brush with bankruptcy wasn't a one-time scare. Nike actually remained on the brink of bankruptcy for nearly 2 decades, fighting suppliers, banks, and even government regulators the entire way. This wasn't a company with one bad year. This was a company that lived on the edge of collapse for the better part of 20 years, while quietly building one of the most powerful brands in modern history. When Nike finally went public in 1980, Phil Knight was suddenly worth $178 million. The man who once borrowed $50 from his father and sold shoes out of a car trunk had built an empire. Today, Nike generates over $46 billion a year in revenue, with a net income exceeding $3 billion. It employs nearly 78,000 people worldwide. The lesson isn't that Nike got lucky. It's that Nike almost didn't survive long enough to become Nike at all. Every iconic brand you see today as untouchable was one bad quarter away from disappearing completely. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the Business Vault. Every week, we uncover the untold stories behind the world's biggest empires.